Finding Rose, A Journey to True Love. Episode 2. When Rose packed her bags and moved to a new state, she believed she was leaving behind the ghosts of her past. A long-term relationship had just ended, and though she had given it everything, love had slipped through her fingers like sand. She wasn't heartbroken, just tired. Tired of starting over, tired of the pressure to find the right man, tired of time ticking against her. At her age, she knew what society expected. Women were supposed to date with purpose, marry and have children. She had been raised with these ideals, and as much as she wanted to believe in love, she couldn't ignore the whispers of reality. She needed to find someone. Quickly. Nights out with friends became a routine. She dressed up, painted her lips a deep red, and stepped into the dimly lit lounges, scanning the room for a face that might change her life. But the men she met were nothing like the partner she dreamed of. They were either too careless, too cocky, or too temporary. She was beginning to lose hope when fate, dressed in the form of her brother-in-law, intervened. "Rose, you're beautiful, smart, and have a great heart," he said one evening as they sat in his living room. "Why are you still single?" She laughed, shaking her head. "If I knew, do you think I'd still be—" Her brother-in-law leaned forward. "I have a friend, Gabriel. He's single, looking for something serious. I think you two would get along." The name lingered in the air, carrying an unspoken promise. Rose hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, introduce us." And just like that, Gabriel entered her life. Gabe was a man who carried himself with an effortless kind of confidence. Light-skinned, well-groomed, and in his late 30s, he had an air of charm that could make anyone comfortable. His house was a reflection of his personality, lavishly furnished, tastefully decorated, with a scent of expensive cologne lingering in the air. Their first conversations were easy, filled with laughter and late-night calls that stretched until dawn. He had a way with words, a humour that made everything seem lighter. Rose found herself smiling more, laughing more. When they finally met in person, there was an unspoken connection. It was as if they had known each other in another life. The way he held the door open for her, the way his eyes studied her face as she spoke. It all felt right. But love, as Rose would soon learn, is never what it seems in the beginning. At first, everything was perfect. She started spending nights at his house, cooking breakfast in his kitchen, meeting his family, blending into his world. During Christmas, he invited her to his hometown, introducing her to his extended family with pride. Everyone adored her, whispering about how she might be the one. Yet, perfection has a way of unraveling at the seams. The first red flag came subtly, so subtly that Rose almost ignored it. Gabe had a habit of drinking, not just the occasional glass of wine with dinner, but full bottles of gin, vodka and whiskey, consumed as if they were water. At first, she told herself it was just a bad habit, something he'd eventually outgrow. But then came the nights when he stumbled into bed, reeking of alcohol, mumbling incoherent words, his mood shifting unpredictably. Some nights he was affectionate, whispering sweet words into her ear. Other nights he was distant, moody, unreachable. Then there was his lifestyle. Rose found solace in spending time with Gabe's mother. They cooked together, went on spa dates, and enjoyed long conversations. But even his mother, as much as she adored Rose, admitted there was little she could do about Gabe's reckless lifestyle. "He's an adult, Rose," she would say. "His choices are his own." Rose tried to reason with Gabe, pointing out his destructive habits, his lack of ambition, and his unwillingness to appreciate her efforts in the relationship. But every conversation turned into an argument. He never complimented her, never acknowledged her sacrifices. Worse, he never bought her gifts, always claiming he didn't have money, even as he splurged on the latest gadgets, luxury cookware he never used, and shoes he didn't need. Gabe didn't work a typical job. He didn't need to. Coming from a wealthy family, money was never a problem. It arrived in his account effortlessly, allowing him to live without structure, without responsibility. While Rose woke up early for work, Gabe slept in. While she carefully budgeted her earnings, he spent without thought on the latest TVs, luxury cookware he never used, sneakers that piled up in unopened boxes. Still, Rose stayed. She confided in his mother, seeking guidance. The older woman sighed, shaking her head. Gabe has always been this way, she admitted, but maybe you're the one who can change him. Rose wanted to believe that. But belief doesn't change people. One afternoon, as she prepared to cook dinner, she asked Gabe for money to buy groceries. He leaned back on the couch, an amused smirk on his lips. "Why don't you go to the garden and pick vegetables?" he said casually. "Women should support their men by being resourceful, not wasting money." Rose blinked, taken aback. "Are you serious?" "Of course," he replied, as if he were teaching her something valuable. "A good woman knows how to manage without spending unnecessarily." Something inside Rose snapped. They argued loudly. His words were sharp, degrading, as if she were nothing more than an inconvenience. And as much as the fight shook her, what frightened her more was that this wasn't the first time. This was who he was. On a faithful night, Rose was in the bedroom and she heard Gabe on a phone call with her sister. It is a non-fact in the family that Gabe has sworn never to get married. All he wants are children from a surrogate woman. This was a discovery Rose made while she heard the conversation between Gabe and his sister. It was so shocking to Rule she could not get that conversation out of her head the next morning. Rose packed her bags and told Gabe she was leaving and she would not come back. On our way out, she saw his brother, who asked her jokingly, "Why is it every time I bump into you? You are always on your way out of your boyfriend's house with your bag packed." It was a funny comment, but that was Rose's reality with Gabe. It's been more than 4 times she has packed her bags and left his house. Months passed, and the love she once felt turned to something else, something bitter. She began avoiding his calls, entertaining other men who reached out to her, hoping to feel something new, something better. Gabe noticed. Desperate, he asked his mother to intervene. She called Rose, pleading with her to be patient, to stay. "He loves you, Rose. He just doesn't know how to show it." But love should never feel like suffering. Then there was his brother, a married man who frequently brought mistresses into Gabe's house, using it as a hideout for his affairs. To Gabe and his friends, infidelity was normal, a part of life. Rose knew she couldn't build a future with a man like this. The breaking point came unexpectedly. Gabe was diagnosed with an early liver failure scare, a result of years of reckless drinking. The news left him shattered, vulnerable. And in that moment of weakness, he reached out to Rose, asking for another chance. "I need you," he whispered over the phone. "I'll change, I promise." For a brief moment, she almost believed him. But she had spent too long waiting for promises that never came true. This time, she didn't run back. Instead, she packed her bags. She left the city, left the memories, left the man who had once felt like home. And as she stepped into a new country, breathing in the unfamiliar air, she felt something she hadn't in years. Freedom. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. She would never settle for anything less than the love she deserved. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and comment. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. Your support means everything.